Sharade pahi mam Shankara raksha mam. 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 Sharade pahi mam Shankara.
Sharada Sharadamboj Vadana Vadanambuje Sarvada Sarvada Asmakam Sannidhis Sannidhim Kriyat Shankha Rupena Machittam Panki Kritamabhudaya Kinkariyasya Samaya Shankaracharyamashaye Ajnanam Jannavi Tirtham Vidya Tirtham Vivekinam Sarvesham Sukadam Tirtham Bharati Tirthamashaye Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Vitaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tattvajnam Vidushekara Bharatim Sadguru Charanaravinda Bhyam Namaha. Namaste. We're going to start the Dharma Shastra and the Nyaya Shastra lecture series right now. Dr. Jambunathan will start from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Padmanabhanji. Namaste to all devotees for joining. Hari Om Shuklam Bharadharam Vishtam Shashivarnam Sadarbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashanteham Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Gurum Paramparam Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Namaste. We have some new devotees also have joined the program. So just to summarize, what we do is I do the Dharma Shastra lecture for the first half of the session, which is about 40 minutes. And Padmanabhanji then does his Nyaya Shastra session, which is another 30-40 minutes. So we try to do it anywhere from 1 hour, 15 minutes, maximum 1.5 hours. And in the Dharma Shastra, I've been covering the Manusmriti, which is the most oldest of all the Dharma Shastras. And all the other Dharma Shastras have kind of been modifications of the Manusmriti, only tailored to the appropriate time period, because some of the components of Manusmriti may not be applicable to this day and age, but it is kind of the gold standard, and it is from there that other Smritis have evolved from that. Anything which is very controversial, which may not be totally applicable to this period, we might skip that part. And other things which we'll just make ourselves aware. Some of them we are still not following, but like one of our devotees asked the last time, what is the importance of knowing Manusmriti? It is the same as learning Bhagavatam. You know, people listen to Bhagavatam lectures all about the exploits of Krishna. It also teaches the philosophy, but nobody of us can be a Dhruva or a Prahlada, but at least it will inspire us to be at least 1/100th of them. And, we can't have the same level of devotion as other Bhagavatas have, but at least once we reach to Dharma Shastra, okay, even there are 10 things, we'll try to follow at least one of it. So the whole idea is listening to it itself is a merit. It might inspire us to do at least 1/10 or 1/100th of what it's mentioned there. And, Dharma Shastras are the ways of kind of purifying our mind and body, because unless the body and mind is well purified and refined, the knowledge of the Atma or the Brahman knowledge is not going to shine. So Dharma Shastras are kind of the gateway for the Brahma Jnana ultimately. So that is kind of the reason. And we recently at Shivaratri completed about a week ago or so. And in Kurma Purana, there is a sloka when Lord Shiva tells to Parvati that the 18 Ashtadasha Vidyas, which is the four Vedas, the six Vedangas, the Nyaya Shastra, the Mimamsa, and Dharma Shastra and the Puranas make 14, and all the auxiliary Vedas, the Dhanurveda, the Ayurveda, the Shilpa Shastra, and the Gandharva Veda, the 18. He says that in one of the slokas, learning these 18 Vidyas is like doing puja to different parts of my body. So kind of indirectly what Lord Shiva says is even learning all these 18 Vidyas, is a form of a puja to the Lord. And even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the end, anybody who listens to his Bhagavad Gita, I consider this as a worship in the form of Jnana Yoga. So even Lord Krishna says the same thing is learning Bhagavad Gita, he considers it as a form of worship. So, so those are the kind of the preliminaries before. And we covered the first chapter, Manu Smriti, the second chapter, we have covered some slokas. So we finished with sloka number 95 in last session. So I'll just read that sloka and then we'll come back to the sloka from this session. Slokas from 95 was Yaschaitan prapniyat sarvan, Yaschaitan kevalam stajet, prapanat sarvakamanam parityago vishishyate. And what King Manu was telling was that there are people who can achieve all their desires in the life, and there are people who can actually renounce all the desires of the life. Between those two, one who is able to renounce all the desires in his life is Vishishyate. He considers him the best. So renouncing of desires rather than acquisition of all what you desire is considered better. So that's what the sloka there. So now we'll go to sloka number 96. Na tataitani shakyante sannihamtu asevaya vishayeshu prajushtani yata jnanena nityashah. Na tataitani shakyante sanniyamantu asevaya vishayeshu prajushtani yata jnanena nityashah. And after telling that, the previous sloka, Manu told that, renouncing the desires is better than fulfilling the desires. He is now telling the next step. And here is telling it is not easy to get rid of the desires by forcibly controlling them. But if you reason them out by knowledge, it is easier to get rid of the desires. So basically, let's assume that you are eating too much of ice cream every day. And if you try to forcibly control yourself trying to eat ice cream, you will just at one time you'll give it up and say, let me go to the shop and get it. Your mind will get too much obsessed with it. But rather than if you begin to reason out, okay, if I take ice cream every day, there are people who get diabetes, they get high cholesterol problems and other things. Over time, if you keep on thinking about the bad complications of the ice cream, you might be able to reason yourself out, and that might be a better option to get rid of your desires. So that is basically is telling forcible control of desires might be difficult, but reasoning out by knowledge might be a easier way of controlling your desires. So that's what is was telling in the sloka number 96. Sloka number 97. Vedas tyagascha yajnascha niyamascha tapamsi cha na vipra dushta bhavasya siddhim gacchanti karhichite. Vedas tyagascha yajnascha niyamascha tapamsi cha na vipra dushta bhavasya siddhim gacchanti karhichite. So the last line says vipra dushta bhavasya, means vipra here means a brahmana, where we can take it in a more general sense, a person who is a very learned person. Dushta bhava means bad, who has bad tendencies. Even a person who is well learned, if he has a lot of bad qualities, for him siddhim gacchanti karhichiti, he is not going to attain the final fulfillment. And the first line says Vedas, Tyagas, Yajnas, Nemas, Tapamsi. So even if somebody is reading the Vedas every day, they are performing yajnas every day, they are following all the rules and regulations, and they are following penance. But if they have bad qualities and bad behavior along with them, then he is not going to attain the ultimate goal. So it is basically same thing like what we tell in medicine. Patient has to take his somebody, let's say, I will give you an example of diabetes or high blood pressure. There is two parts to it. One, you have to take your medication. Second part, you have to be very controlled in your diet, exercise, and other behaviors. So somebody who is taking all the medications around the clock, but is not following one dietary regulation, one exercise regulation, everything, the blood sugars are not going to be easily controlled. So same thing, the same things, you can do all your yajnas and tapas, but if you all concomitantly of bad qualities and bad behavior, then you are not going to achieve the ultimate goal. So again, the importance is not only giving importance to the ritualistic part, but also giving an importance to the behavioral part is very, very importantly stressed. And that's what Manu is kind of mentioning here. Next sloka number 98. Shrutva spruštva cha drushtva cha bhuktva gratva cha yo naraha nahrishyati glayati vasa bigneyo jitendriyaham. Shrutva spruštva cha drushtva cha bhuktva gratva cha yo naraha nahrishyati glayati vasa bigneyo jitendriyaham. So again, it lists all the sensations. Shrutva means hearing, spruštva means feeling the touch, drushtva is seeing, bhuktva is eating and enjoying the taste, and gratva is again smelling. All those things. Nahrishyati na glayati. One who neither gets too excited or gets too depressed when doing all these 5 activities. So basically all of us are always seeing something, except we are sleeping, we are seeing something, hearing something, we are smelling something, tasting something. So what he is telling is have a balanced attitude. Don't get too excited or don't get too depressed if you're getting it or not. And you can recollect the Gita slokas too, where in the second chapter, Lord Krishna tells one who is active in the senses, but who is still controlled in his mind. So it is basically the intention, the more and the vasanas created only if you are more either passionate or have hatred towards it. So what Manu is telling is one who is involved in all the sensory activities, but neither gets too carried away by it or too depressed by it. He is the one who is really sense controlled. Vigneyo jitendriyaha, one who has controlled the senses. So again, Manu is trying to tell it is very difficult for us to stop all 5 things. If I say somebody, close your eyes for one day, don't hear anything for one day, don't taste anything for one day, don't feel anything, that might be very difficult for anybody, to completely shut yourself everything from the world. But try to be in the world, but don't get carried away. That's exactly what Manu is telling practically, as a way of slowly evolving ourselves. Sloka number 99. Indriyanam tu sarvesham yad ekam sharatindriyam tenasha sharati pragya dhrutehe padad iva udakam. Padadivodakam is the one word, padadivodakam, padad iva udakam. Indriyanam tu sarvesham yadyekam sharatindriyam tenasha sharati pragya dhrutehe padad iva udakam. Udakam is water. So basically he is giving the example of a leather bag. And if there is even a hole in one part of the small, let's say there is water in the leather bag or in the pot, and there is a small hole even in one part of that part of the leather bag, the entire water will leak away from that particular part or the bag. So same thing, Indriyanam tu sarvesham yad ekam sharatindriyam. Even among all the indriyas, only one indriya is not behaving bad. That is also a problem. That's what he's telling here. So you are very good you can control your senses. Only thing is you cannot control your taste. You are able to resist yourself from watching unnecessary things, hearing unnecessary things. So let's say that only one indriya you are not able to control. He says even that is a problem. It is like even a big pot, there is a small hole somewhere in one part. the entire water leaks away from the pot. Same thing, even if one indriya is not well controlled, the entire process of spiritual progress is affected. So that is what Manu is telling in sloka number 99. Then sloka number 100. Bashe kritvendriya gramam samyamya cha manastata sarvan samsadayet arthan akshinvan yogatastanum. Bashe kritvendriya gramam samyamya cha manastata sarvan samsadayet arthan akshinvan yogatastanum. So what Manu is telling here is two things. He is telling control of the indriyas and control of the mind. Bashe means keep it under your control. Indriya, gramam, all the indriyas. Samyamya means, manas samyamya means keeping the mind equanimous, balanced, controlled. You can use one of those English words as equivalent for samyamya. Sarvan samsade tartan. So a person should have his senses under his control, a balanced mind, and with that, he should accomplish all things in the earth. Sarvan samsadeyat arthan akshinvan yogatas tanum, without affecting the body. He gives importance to the body. Akshinvan yogatas tanum means keep your body fit also. So just by controlling your indriyas and mind, don't damage your body also. So with a fit body, but a controlled mind, senses and a balanced mind, accomplish samsade sarvan samsade tartan, accomplish whatever you want, good things in your life. So that is the advice Manu is telling there. Sloka number 101. Purvam sandhyam japam tishtet savitrim arkadarshanat paschimam tu samasinah samyak riksha vibhavanat. Purvam sandhyam japam tishtet savitrim arkadarshanat paschimam tu samasinah samyak riksha vibhavanat. So this is again, Manu is now talking about the sandhya, which all the male who have the sacred thread, they are supposed to, in the olden days, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas were all considered to have the sacred thread, and they are supposed to follow all the Vedic regulations. Only the fourth, which we call the Shudra caste, they didn't have all these regulations. But so here is telling the regulations for all the people in terms of doing the sandhya, the morning and the evening worship. And he's telling Purvam Sandhyam Japam Tishtet Savitrim Arkadarshanat. Arka is one of the names of Lord Surya. If you look at the Surya name, Lord Surya's name, one of them is Arkadarshanat. Till you see Lord Surya. So he's telling in the mornings, you should do your Sandhya Puja very early in the morning, standing up. And you should continue this till you are able to see the first sight of the sun. And then in the evening, Paschimam tu Samasinaha Samyak Riksha Vibhavanat. He says in the evening, again, the evening times, you start the Sandhya worship or the Savitri chanting of the Gayatri Mantra in the evening and continue it till the first sight of the stars in the sky. So you should start before they come and continue from the time when the stars appear. So basically, and then there are special time periods and all, which has gone more detailed in the Kalpas, but here it is just giving the general guideline. Start the worship early in the morning, continue till you see the sun, and in the evening, start it in the early evenings and continue till you see the nakshatras, which is the stars. So that is kind of the general guideline for performing the morning and evening Sandhya worship. Sloka number 102. Purvam Sandhyam Japam Tishtan Naishameno Vyapohati Paschimam tu Samasino Malam Hanti Divakrutam. Purvam Sandhyam Japam Tishtan Naishameno Vyapohati Paschimam tu Samasino Malam Hanti Divakrutam. And he is telling what is the benefit of doing this morning and evening Sandhya worship. He says by the morning worship, doing by standing, you remove all the sins which were done in the previous night. And by doing the Sandhya worship, sitting down in the evening, all the sins you have done from morning to that time, they get removed. So basically, it is assumed that all of us will be committing some sins or the other throughout the day. So that is the default. The default position is you will be committing sins. And to remove this sins committed in the night, the morning worship takes care of it. And the sins which you do in the morning is taken care of in the evening. So if you read the Narayana Upanishad, the Gayatri, Atharvashirsha Upanishad and all, they will very clearly say, if you chant this Upanishad, Gayatri Upanishad, Atharvashirsha in the morning, it removes the sins of the previous day. If you chant in the evening, it removes sins of the morning. So this same thing is repeated in also in lot on our Vedic chantings too. Specifically, it will say that, so basically that all, there are also other ways of getting rid of the daily sins, because in our Hindu religion we have sins which are minor sins, major sins, and there are different ways of getting rid of these different sins also. So next sloka is sloka number 103. Na tishtati tuyah purvam na upaste yascha paschimam Sasudravad Bahishkaryah Sarvasmad Dvijakarmanaha Natishtati Tuyah Purvam na upaste yascha paschimam Sasudravad Bahishkaryah Sarvasmad Dvijakarmanaha. I think it is very self-explanatory. What he is telling is, the person who is not doing this Sandhya worship, standing in the morning and sitting in the evening, he should be considered like a Shudra, which is like the person who has no Upanayana at all. And Bahishkari, we should even consider him excluding from all the other activities. This is the extreme regulations which are followed in the olden days. I think if they follow all these regulations today, all of us will be outcast today. So we have to take it that with a little pinch of salt. But that is what Manu is telling us. He is giving that importance to Sandhya worship, that one who is not doing this regularly, he should be considered like a Shudra, and basically Bahishkarya means he should be excluded from all the other activities. Dvijakarmanaha means all the other things which the Brahmins are eligible to do, he should be excluded from that. So, and again, Manu has repeated this in a different form too. He has told that if you can't do anything, at least chant the Gayatri mantra morning and evening, and that is also considered okay. And so there are some leniencies also given if you can't do it in a more stringent fashion. And then sloka number 104. Apam samipe niyato naityakam vidimastitaha savitrim apidiyita gatva aranyam samahitaha. Apam samipe niyato naityakam vidim astitaha savitrimapya adiyita gatva aranyam samahitaha. So he also tells you which is the best place. He told you like do the morning Sandhya worship standing, evening Sandhya worship sitting, do it till you see the sun comes, till you see the stars comes. Now he is telling which is the better place to do. Apam samipe aranyam samahitaha. So if you can do near a water body, so there is a river flowing, or there's a temple tank or something like that, like a very sacred river body, if you can do it on the banks of the river body, apam samipe, near the body of water, or in a forest. So if you can do in those places this Savitri thing, then it has much additional benefits. But obviously, most of us are living in a city where you can't find both of them that easily. Neither a water body is close to you or a forest is close to you. But doing is better. But he says this is a place where you can maximize the benefits. And there are also other slokas which goes in the other smritis, and it will tell you layer by layer, and the final layer it tells us if you can do the Gayatri in front of a Vishnu idol in a temple, that is the best. So if you can't do anything, at least go to your local temple in the evening if you have time and do a little Gayatri in front of Lord Vishnu there, because our Smriti tells doing Gayatri in a Vishnu temple in front of the Vishnu idol is the ultimate. So that is possible for most of us. You cannot find a water body, you cannot find a forest, but you can easily find a Vishnu temple, at least if you're living in a major city. So that is not mentioned in the Manusmriti, but it is mentioned in the other Smritis. So, or at least on the weekend when it is possible, you can do that. Sloka number 105. Vedopakarane chaiva swadhyaye chaiva naityake na anurodho asti annadhyaye homa mantreshu chaivahi. Vedopakarane chaiva swadhyaye chaiva naityake na anurodho asti anadhyaye homa mantreshu chaivahi. So there is this anadhyayanam. There is a term called adhyayanam, anadhyayanam. Adhyayanam means learning the Vedas, reciting the Vedas. Anadhyayana means you are not supposed to do that. So according to very strict regulations, there are some days like Ashtami, Chaturdasi. There are some special days of the month where you are not supposed to be chanting the Vedas. And there also says if there is a lot of tornado or something going on in your city, storms, you are not supposed to chant Vedas during that time. There are some special regulations. But what Manu is telling here is, Na anurodho asti annadhyaya. This is like double negative. He is telling, don't worry about those annadhyayam, because if you start strictly following the annadhyanam rules, your mind will be focused. Okay, when should I not tell? When he said, forget those doing Vedic chanting every day is good. That's what he's telling indirectly. There are rules of annadhyana columns and other things, and especially he gives for three important things: Veda upakaranam, Naityaka Swadhyayam, and Homa Mantra. He tells three, especially for these three things means you are everybody is on a Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samaveda, and you have a particular Shaka which you are following. Whatever is your Nitya Veda Brahma Yajnam, that can be continued. And especially if you are also chanting the Homa Mantras which are present in the Vedas, that is also no problem. And Vedopakarana means all the Vedangas, Siksha, Vyakaranam, Kalpa, Niruktam. For all these three, don't even worry about Anadhyana column. Your regular chanting of your Shaka to which you are born, the Homa Mantras in the Vedas, and all the Vedic auxiliaries like the Siksha, Kalpam and other things, to chant those things, don't worry about Anadhyana column, no problem, he says. Naityake na asti annadhyaye brahmashatram hi tat smrutam brahma ahuti hutam punyam annadhyaya vashat krutam. So again, all these terms come. Naityake na asti annadhyaye brahmashatram hi tat smrutam brahma ahuti hutam punyam Annadhyaya Vashat Krutam. So this is a little complicated sloka where you have to know the philosophy of the Shatram. It says because Brahma Shatram uses the term Brahma Shatram Manu. Among the Soma Yajnas, there is a Homa called Shatram. Shatram is a Yajna which you can perform continuously for months actually. 100-day Satram, 1 year Satrams are all there. There are some Homas which you perform for 12 days. 16 days and all, but Satram can be performed for months and even years together. And and everything at the end of every day you end with Vashat. So the Vashat will cover the night period, it seems. So you do from morning to evening the Homas, and then at the night you take a break, you resume the Homa again in the morning. So the Vashat acts as the kind of the connecting link between the previous day Homa and the next day Homa, and you can do Satrams for continuously for several months also. So he says even chanting the Vedas is called Brahma Shatram. It's almost like a Yajna, like the Shatra Yajna, which you can do continuously. Even the Adhyaya, don't worry about, again, is again trying to re-emphasize, don't worry too much about his Annadhyayana Kalam and all, because if you keep, then you will stop chanting everything. So he says it continues like a Brahma Shatram. And if you do it, it is like Brahma Ahuti Hutam. It is actually giving, even the chanting of these Vedas regularly is like Ahuti. You are giving like Yajnas to the, to the Devas. It is considered like that. So it will give you only Punyam. Don't worry about it. So he says again, don't worry too much about his Annadhyana regulations and all. Consider this like a Brahma Shatram, and consider this is like offering a sacrifice to the Lord. And this will only give you Punyam, especially the Shaka to which you are born, and the Veda Shaka that is continuing, that it's not a problem. Maybe you should follow the Annadhyana regulations you are following when you're trying to learn a new Veda, especially from a different, from a new Shaka, from a new Veda, that might apply. But For your regular chanting, consider this like a Brahma Shatram. So he's equating this like the Shatra Yajnam. Sloka number 107. Yes Swadhyayam Adite Abdam Vidina Nietas Sushihi Tasya Nityam Sharat Esha Payo Dadi Grutam Madhu. Yes Swadhyayam Adite Abdam Vidina Nietah Sushihi Tasya Nietam Sharat Esha Payo Dadi Grutam Madhu. Payo Dadi Grutam Madhu means Payo is milk, Dadi is curd, Grutam is ghee, we call ney in Tamil, Madhu is honey, ten. So he says all these four, for somebody who continuously Adite Abdam means for 1 year, Vidina Niyataga Shushihi, following the regulations, the Niyatams and the Sushi purely. One who continues to chant these Vedas regularly for 1 year, following all rules of cleanliness, for him it will rain, it seems. Sharatesha Payo Dadi Grudam Madhu, which means he will get ample of everything, automatically will come to him. So basically he's telling, for one who is chanting the Vedas regularly, following all the regulations, he will have all prosperity indirectly. But all the, he's giving all the examples, the Payo Dadi Grudam Madhu. Some people have even interpreted this milk, curd, ghee and honey as Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha too. So it says the four arthas, so Medaditi as one of the commentaries of is interpreted this like Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, everything will come to him. So that is also another interpretation of these four elements. Sloka number 108. Agnindanam Bhaikshachariyam Adashayam Gurorhitam Asamavartanat Kuryat Krito Upanayano Dvijaha. Agnindanam Bhaikshachariyam Adashayam Gurorhitam Asamavartanat Kuryat Krito Upanayano Dvijaha. So it says four things. Agnindanam Bhaikshachariyam Adashayam Gurorhitam. Agnindana means protecting the Agni. Bhaikshacharya means getting bhiksha, going as outside and getting bhiksha for his food. Adashaya means sleeping on the ground, not on a bed. And Gurorhitam, doing all things good for the Guru. So a brahmachari should be doing all these four things: protecting the Agni, doing bhiksha, sleeping on the ground, doing good for the Guru. He should do it Upanayano Dvijaga, as after the Upanayana ceremony is done, all the way till Samavardhanam. That is another procedure called Samavardhanam, which is after all you have learnt your Vedas. It is a special bath ceremony which is given to the person, and then it becomes, that process is called Samavardhanam. So right from the day of the Upanayana till he gets Samavardhanam, you should be doing all the four: protecting the Agni, getting bhiksha, sleeping on the ground, and doing good for the good for his Guru. This is what is expected for that person, and that will give him all good things. Then sloka number 109. Acharyaha putraha sushusher jnanato dharmikaha sushihi aptaha shakto artadaha sadhuhu svo adhyaya dasha dharmataha. Acharya putraha sushusher jnanado Dharmikaha Sushihi Aptaha Shakto Artadaha Sadhuhu Svo Adhyaya Dasha Dharmataha. So he lists 10 people. Dasha Dharmataha. For these 10 people, you should teach Vedas without anything expectation as a dharma itself. And what are the 10 people means? Acharya Putra, for your Guru's son. Sushushur, one who is doing lot of service to you. Jnanado, which means one who is teaching other things. Let's say he is teaching you Puranas. You can teach him Vedas. So basically one who is spreading knowledge in other ways, for that person also you can teach. Dharmika, one who lives a very dharmic life. Suchi means one who is living a very pure life. Aptaha means all your relatives. Shakto, one who is one Shakto means very competent person. You see that person is very intelligent. He grasps everything. You can voluntarily teach him. Arthadaha means one who is actually giving you money. Sadhuhu means one who is very saintly life. Swo means your own son, your own family. For all these people, you can teach the Vedas as a dharma, which means no without any expectation. Sloka number 110. Na prishtah kasyachit brúyan na cha anyayena pritchatah janan api hi medavi jadaval loka acharet. No, na prishtah kasyachit brúyan na cha anyayena pritchatah janan api hi medavi jadaval loka acharet. He says, but also he adds one more. But don't teach for people who don't ask you. Like go and voluntarily call them and teach that they should come and ask you. At the same time, bruya na cha anyayena pruchadaha. But they should also not come and demand or put in a very disrespectful manner demand things from you. So basically, one who is coming and asking you, at the same time asking you in a very respectful way. For them, you have to teach. He's giving the things, but one who is demanding you disrespectfully, don't teach, he says. So, Jadanapi, and he gives for the teacher, is giving this rule. Medavi Jadaval Loka. Even if you are a very, very intelligent person, act in the world as if you are a dumb person. That is telling that. So, he's telling, teach for the people who is asking you, don't teach for people who are very disrespectful. And even if you are a very intelligent person, behave like somebody who is a very dumb person or ignorant person. Adharmena chaya pragaha yascha adharmena pruchati tayor antaraha tayo anyatraha praiti vidvesham va adhigacchati. Adharmena chaya praha yascha adharmena pruchati tayoho anyatraha praiti vidvesham va adhigacchati. So he says, one who is following adharma, either in teaching or on learning. So praha means telling, prichati means listening. One who is teaching or learning, if they are following their adharmic or they have other not good qualities with them, if you teach for them, he says one of them will die. Tayor antaraha praiti vidvesham tadhigacchati. So basically he says, one who is following very adharmas and teaching, or one who is listening and also following adharmas, if that continues, that relationship continues, then one of them will die or they will end up fighting. That's what he's telling. So again, we say in Tamil, patra marinja pichaidu, which means select the person who you think is, very qualified to receive the teaching. Because again, the importance is, this is not like just giving food or giving money. The Vedas are considered to be very high treasure of knowledge. So make sure you give it to the person who knows its value. Kind of, that's what you should take. The philosophy of this statement is, don't take the extremes, but just teach to the people who know the value of it and are not disrespecting it. Padmanji, what is the time now? Let me see. I'm not seeing the time on my screen.
It's about 4:40 for you.
Okay.
You can, for 5 minutes, you can go, maybe a couple of other slokas.
I'll quickly, for 5 minutes, I'll go and then I'll finish off. Okay. Sloka number 112. Dharmartho yatra nashyatam sushushava api tadvida tatra vidyana vaptavya shubham bijam ivoshare. Dharmartho yatra nashyatam sushushava api tadvida tatra vidyana vaptavya shubham bijam ivoshare. So again it says, dharma, artha, sushusha is telling three criteria. Means dharma means following all the religious, being good and nice and following all the regulations. Artha means able to give money or other support. Sushusha means doing service. If all three are not available or not provided, so if the Shishya is not behaving in a very dharmic way to the Guru or providing him some material support, or not providing any services to him. Again, it is not demanding that you should pay money, any of the above. If none of the three are available for him, don't give your vidya. Tatra vidya na vaptavya, na vaptavya. It is like subham, bijam, ivoshare. It is like basically bijam is seed. If you put a plant or a tree seed in a very barren land or a poor soil, it will not grow. So Manu is giving the example. If somebody who is not having all these qualities, don't teach him, because teaching him is like sowing the seed in a barren land, which is but ultimately a wasteful endeavor. Vidyaiva samam kamam martavyam brahmavadina apadyapihi gorayam apadyapihi gorayam natvenam irine vapet. Vidyaiva samam kamam martavyam brahmavadina apadyapihi gorayam natvenam irine vapet. Again, this is very extreme, which we probably will not applicable to this day and age. He says, if you don't get the right Sishya, there is no need to expend your knowledge. Martavyam Brahmavadina, you can even die with your knowledge rather than giving it to the wrong person. Apadyapihi gorayam, even if you are put in grave danger. Let's say somebody puts a knife to your neck and tell, you got to teach me this particular Vedas or something, then your life is itself in danger. He says, even in that condition, don't tell it to the person who is not deserving it. And that is again, it gives the example of same, the sowing the seed in the wrong site or something like that. So he's telling again, for a martavyam brahmavadira means you can even die, he says. Don't, if somebody is very bad, even if they threaten you with your life, don't give to the wrong person. Again, I think we should not take to the extreme. Basically, kind of take the philosophy is give the knowledge to the person who knows the value of it. I think that's the simplest way we can take that. And I will just tell two more slokas and we'll finish with 115 today. Vidya Brahmana Metyaha Sheva Distet Asmin Rakshamam Asuya Kaya Mam Das Tatashyam Viryavatama. Vidya Brahmana Metyaha Shevadishte Asmin Rakshamam Asuya Kaya Ma Das Tatashyam Viryavatama. Here Manu is giving an allegory. He is telling the knowledge or the Vedic knowledge itself comes as a devata, and it is telling the Brahman who knows it, I am your treasure. Asmi Rakshamam, please protect me. Asuya Kayamam, don't give it to people who are jealous or bad. Again, Asuya Kaya means though Asuya specifically means jealousy, it includes all. He's telling all the people who have bad qualities, don't give it to them. If you don't give it to the wrong person itself, Virya Vattama, my power will grow. So it is, he's giving the Veda itself is coming and tell the Brahmana who knows it, please protect me. Don't give it to the person with all bad qualities. If you do it itself, the power of this will grow. And this is the last sloka I want to finish. Emeve tu suchim vidyam niyatam brahmacharinam tasme mam bruhi vipraya nidipaya apramadine. Emeve tu suchim vidyan niyatam brahmacharinam tasme mam bruhi vipraya nidipaya apramadine. But he says, on the other hand, one who is pure and who is following the regulations of all the brahmachari, for that vipra, for that particular brahmana, apramadine, and one who is not, pramadana means like lazy or sleepy, one who is always alert. So one who is always alert, who is pure and who is following the regulations, for him, for sure teach it to him. Again, if you look at the trend of these last few slokas, is basically telling if you find a very qualified person, don't hesitate to teach. If you find a person who is like not having the good qualities, don't give him even if you are supposed to die. So that's kind of the trend of what we are seeing here. So with this, I will stop today with the sloka number 115. Here, to just summarize, Manu was telling us the importance of the Sandhya worship. and what are the benefits of Sandhya worship, and also about the Vedic teaching, who are eligible to learn, and and what will happen if you give it to the wrong person. So that's kind of what was covered here, and I'll stop here and we will continue the next session. Mangalam Koshalendraya Mahaniya Gunaptem Chakravarti Tanujaya Sarvabhaumaya Mangalam Shriya Kantaya Kalyanidhe Ertinam Shri Venkata Nivasaya Srinivasaya Mangalam. Now I request Padmanabhan ji to continue his Nyaya Shastra lecture.
Namaste and thank you very much, Dr. Jambunathan ji. It's a very deep coverage of the Dharma Shastra. Now I think we'll go with the Nyaya Shastra, which will be understanding, reasoning, and how we, in the normal world, how we take up things. So for those who are joined, I believe that you might have seen the previous videos on both of our lectures. So that Purva Pitika is already there. So we are continuing from the Pramanas. We are actually in the Nyaya Shastra. We are in the section of Pramanas. We did the Padartha Nirupana, like basically what are the components of the Nyaya Shastra earlier. Now we go to the Pramana. Pramana means it's an authentic source of knowledge. So the Nyaya Shastra takes 4 types of Pramana, out of which a Pratyaksha, Anumana, Shabda, and Upamana Pramanas. So out of this, we are in the middle of Pratyaksha Pramana. We started with the Pratyaksha Pramana, which is direct understanding of the world through our normal sense organs. So we are in the middle of Pratyaksha Pramana right now. So I'll just share my slide in a second. Hope, yeah, okay. So you're able to see my screen, I believe. Okay. So we see what is Pratyaksham. Pratyaksham is Indriyartha Sannikasha. So basically the ones which we grab the knowledge through our sense organs. And the Pratyaksha Jnana Hetuhu Shadvida. There are 6 reasons that the Shastra talks about, which is basically contact and inherence being the most important thing. Contact is whenever this is a relationship happens between 2 items whenever, and it goes away at some point. Whereas inherence is the relation that exists all the time. So we finished all the contact-based relationship until last week. So there are 3 types of contact-based relationship, which is Samyoga, Samyukta Samavaya, and Samyukta Samaveta Samavaya. So which is 1, contact with inherence, contact with inherence with inherence. So these 3 examples we saw last week. And we're going to start with the 4th one, which is the Samavaya Sambandha. Just to summarize, the contact happens with, when we look at a pot, the contact is happening with the Indriya, the sense organ, that is the eye or the vision, and with the pot. So that is a contact Samavaya. And now if you see the color of the pot, the color is a property of the pot, and that property of the color, that property color is always in the pot. So that is the Samaveta Sambandha. So when you see the pot, when you see the color of the pot, you are basically seeing the pot, which is a temporary relationship, but the pot's color with the pot is a permanent relationship. So that's what we call it as a Samyukta Samavaya Sambandha. And the third one is the colorness of the pot is, if you take as a third relationship. So the first relationship is our contact with the pot, which is a temporary. The color of the pot, which is permanent. The colorness of that color is also permanent. So when you do this way, this relationship is with the eyes to the colorness of the pot, when we call it as the Samyukta Samaveta Samavaya Sambandha. So we finished up to this point, and I think we'll just go through the next one is the Samavaya Sambandha. Shabdatva Sakshatkare Samaveta Samavaya Sannikashah Shrotra Samavete Shabdatvasya Samavaya. So in the earlier sections, I think I should go to one slide above this. Sorry, I think Shamita, the Samavaya Sambandha, yeah. Shrotrena Shabda Sakshatkare Samavaya Sannikashah Karna Vivravarti Akashasya Shrotratvat Shabdasya Akasha Gunatvat Guna Guninosya Samavaya. So in the earlier section, when we learnt about the Akasha as a Padartha there, that time we learned that the sound is present in the ethereal layer, and the sound's relationship with the ethereal layer is eternal, it's permanent. So that sound always is permanent, has a relationship with the ethereal layer. That's what we call it as the akasha. So that our hearing faculty is the faculty that handles the sound vision, a sound portion of our, it's called the sound indriya. So when the noise happens, and that relationship of the noise with our hearing faculty is always in a permanent relationship. So as we saw earlier, Shabda Gunatmakam Akasham. So that's an example of the permanent relationship. So it is different from the contact relationship. Contact means it comes and goes away. Permanent relationship, it is always there. It is inherent all the time. The fifth one is the Samaveta Samavaya. So now if you include the soundness of the sound that is produced by the instruments, that relationship, the soundness of the sound, is always in a permanent relationship with our hearing faculty. So that this is the soundness is inherent relationship to the sound, and the sound is in inherent relationship to the hearing faculty. So both of them are in constant relationship with each other. So that's why it's called Samaveta Samavaya. So this is the eternal relationship between the multiple objects together with the indriya. And the last one out of this is the Visheshana Visheshya Bhavaha. In normal grammar terms, we say Visheshana Visheshya Bhavaha is used in the adjective sense. So or adjective is basically when you say a tall tree, Unnata Vrikshaha, or Neelaha Gataha. So Gata, that is blue color pot. The blue is an adjective, right? You qualify that. There's a qualifier and there's a qualified context here. Normally we mentioned here. And then in the Shastra also we use the same concept. There is a qualifier and a qualified part. But the qualifier and the qualified part, here we add one more extra layer to this. Here is because in this Shastra, in a lot of places we talk about the abhava. There is a non-existence. We also know what it is, and we should also know what it is not. So this particular relationship is a abhava pratyaksha. So he says abhava pratyakshe visheshana visheshya bhavaha sannikashaha gatha abhavavat bhutalam ityatra chakshu samyukte bhutale gatha bhavasya visheshanatvat. So what does it mean? Basically, this uses a qualifier and qualified relationship, and normally our eyes are looking at the floor. So there is a samyukta relationship there. There is a contact relationship on the floor, but that floor does not have a part in it. So there is a bhutalasya gatasya abhavaha. So there is no part in the floor. So now that relationship of the part with our eyes is coming through a non-existence condition here. So that's why we are saying gatha bhavavat bhutalam. So this floor has no part in it. So this is a negative kind of it. So that's why it's abhava pratyaksha. So the contact of the eye with the floor occurs when the qualified does not have the qualifier. So now we say gatha bhavavat bhutalam. So my eyes is not seeing a pot in the floor. It can be a book, it can be a peacock, it can be an elephant, whatever, it can be an elephant, whatever it is. So that abhava is established in the Visheshana Visheshya Bhavaha. This also can have more examples. So you are in your touch pratyaksha, using your touch organ, your swarsha. That time, if you touch a rotika there, and there you can say there is an absence of laddu there. So that's something you can say. Also in the smell pratyaksha, in the taste pratyaksha, you taste a sweet, but then you can say it is an absence of bitterness. So these are all the other examples that are used on the Visheshya Bhavaha. We also saw one more pratyaksham one more example previously on the previous slides about the Samyukta. Here, when we say, I am not happy. Now, how do you explain this? Our mind has a contact with our Jivatma. Atma here is the Jivatma, not the Brahmatma. So Jivatma. So mind has a contact with the relationship with the Atma at that time, at that instant. And the Atma has a relationship with the Sukham all the time, right? So then the absence of Sukham is the Visheshana, and the Atma there is a Visheshya. So we say, when I say I am not happy, Sukhasya Bhavaha. Sukha is not there. So we saw that Dukkasya Bhavaha is Sukham in the earlier slides. So now we see Sukhasya Bhavaha is Dukkham. So when I say I am not happy, this is an example of a Visheshya Abhava relationship there. Evam Sannikarsha Shatkajanyam Jnanam Pratyaksham Tat Karanam Indriyam Tasmat Indriyam Pratyaksha Pramanamiti Siddham Iti Pratyaksha Parichedaha. So that's why Sannikarsha Shadjanya Jnanam Indra. So basically the 6 type of transactions, and this 6 type of vyaparas or the transactions result in the phalam of the pratyaksha pramanam. So the praman, that karanam in sadhanam indriyam. So whatever, how you get the pratyaksham is through your sense organs. So sense organs are the reason for the source of the knowledge and the reason for the pratyaksha pramana. And iti pratyaksha parichedaha. So that's how we conclude the pratyaksha pramana. So these are the factors we need to understand. Basically, Indriyartha Sannikarsha Pratyaksham is what we defined Pratyaksham as earlier. So basically, how we get the phalam of the Pratyaksham is using our Indriyas, basically our sense organs. And due to all this relationship, Samyukta, Samavaya, and all those things, we come up with this relationship. And that's what is called as the Pratyaksha Jnana. Okay. Now, what are the causes that benefit to gain the knowledge from Pratyaksha? There are some, so we have to keep in mind about few things about the Pratyaksha knowledge. So how do we get the Pratyaksha knowledge, and what is easy to get it, and how do we make sure that it's a true knowledge? When we talk about knowledge, we only talk about true knowledge, not a vague knowledge. So here the true knowledge, when you talk about the Pratyaksha's knowledge, the Dravya's nature is very important. So sometimes it's pretty easy to understand about the Dravya by normally seeing the Dravya and our knowledge of the Dravya also, and how our relationship with the Dravya is there. And we should have good sense organs to perceive without any errors. Obviously, you should have a good vision to see a beautiful scenery, good music to hear the good music, good ears to hear the music, good music, and all those kind of things. Sense organs should be without any errors. It should be able to understand that. It should be able to perceive. Then the third one, which also should be contact with the object. So, or our connection with the object. So, how we understand it with the Pratyaksha Pramana. Sometimes we want to try to explain an idli. Most of us may know what idli is, but you try to explain to somebody who does not know idli, you cannot say it is made of rice and urad dal, because the other person may not know what urad dal is. So, this kind of vague knowledge, like things, how the connection with the object and the contact with the object and the general understanding, that those are the things which can come into trouble during the Pratyaksha Pramana's realization. What are the things that can prevent from gaining knowledge on the Pratyaksha? So first thing is defective sense organs. So anything that is not able to see, not able to hear, not able to smell, those kind of situations. Factors like darkness, health, etc. So these are external factors. So we are not able to see anything in the dark. If you have cold, we may not be able to smell a good flower or something like that, or we may not be able to taste food. We may not be able to tell what it is, whether it is sweet or bitter or whatever it is. Those kind of factors are hindrance to the Pratyaksha. And there are incorrect sources of knowledge. I think in this modern world, we know that there is too much here. So you see laddu and you don't know what it is. You search yellow ball in Google and you know what happens after that. So there are Google has pramanas as well as apramanas as well. So there are a lot of apramanas that should come up and shows, and then it gets confusing. And then these are the hindrances to get the Pratyaksha. So iti Pratyaksha parichedaha. So we conclude the Pratyaksha pramana with this ideas and thoughts. So the next pramana that we are going to talk about is Anumanam. We're going to start with Anumanam today. Anumanam means inference. The Anumanam, if you split the word Anu plus Ma plus Ana, so you split it into 3 parts. The Ma stands for knowledge. That's very important. The knowledge is basically, we talk about knowledge all the time in the Nyaya Shastra. Ma represents knowledge. Anu means upasarga. The upasarga of Anu, it means whenever it goes along. So, for example, when we say Ramaha gacchati, Krishna anugacchati, that means Rama is going, Krishna is following him. And then Ajaha charati, Denuhu anusarati. So the goats are grazing, the cows are also grazing. So the Anu means it's always going together. So that is the upasarga that is being used. So the Anu plus Ma. So the knowledge, the thing which goes with the knowledge, and the Ana is a word which is representing the karanam, the instrument of knowledge. So what is the instrument we saw? The karanam is a asadharanam. That is that depends the special understanding something. So the asadharana karanam. So that is what the ana word indicates. So basically, anu, ma, anam indicates it's a jnanasya karanam. So basically, the one which goes along with the knowledge for understanding that particular thing. Now, this also means we should have a purva jnanam also for that. So purvam jayamanam jnanam. So from that, we should have some previous knowledge about this to make our guess, to make our inference out of it. That is very important. So purvam jayamana jnanat anumanam vayam prapnumaha. We get the inference out of this. So how does this work? Anumana is the process which produces the inferential cognition. The anumanam is the process that is producing it. Anumitihi is the phalam that we get out of it. The anumitihi is the knowledge which is called as the inferential cognition. So we use something called as a paramarshaha. Through the process of the paramarshaha, the anumitihi comes into place. So what is a paramarsha? The paramarsha means a conformational cognition. So we are going to go through each of these examples. Now afterwards, you see that in every shloka they throw a word, they throw a new word, and there is an explanation. And then they go with the next word, and then they explain it, and then they throw a new word. So it just goes on words and words and words. That's how the shloka is structured. Then we'll go and summarize all these words together. So that way our thought process remains the same. So some of these words are new to us, like anumitihi or paramarshaha, all those things. So we are going to go through each word by word out of this. So the conformational cognition is going to produce an inference, which inferential cognition is let's understand it at this level. So now let's go through what is paramarshaha. Vyapti vishishta jnanam paksha dharmata jnanam paramarshaha. Yata vanni vyapya dhumavan ayam parvataha iti jnanam paramarshaha. Tad janyam parvataha vanniman iti jnanam anumitihi. So the paramarsha, now what is meant by paramarsha? Paramarsha reveals the invariable relationships called vyapti. So now the third word has come. So we saw anumitihi, then paramarshaha, then this one is a vyapti. So the vyapti is vyapti means it's an invariable relationship. The paramarsha is a word which is revealing the invariable relationship in this place in a paksha. The paksha is a location where this whole activity happens, where we are trying to understand what is going on. Now, so now you see the smoke in the mountain. Yatha vannivyapya dhumavan ayam parvataha. So this smoke there's a fire in the mountain, a fire covered by smoke in the mountain. This is the jnanam paramarsha. This knowledge is called as the paramarsha. That knowledge that is that vision is called the paramarsha. That the knowledge that is generated out of that paramarsha is the anumitihi. So this is how there is a relationship between the paramarsha and the anumitihi. So how does this work? So there are steps to understand how this whole process of understanding this works. So here, this first step is the bhuyo darshanam. So we said that purvam jayamanam jnanam. So bhuyo darshanam means it's something happened that before. It is that knowledge we acquired through our pratyaksha pramana. So whatever we know, we saw before, whatever we smelt before, whatever we tasted before, that is what we are using to generate this new inference. How do we arrive at this conclusion? Based on purvottama jnana. So bhuyo darshanam. In the past, we have seen that we all know in the yagashalas, the smoke is there along with the fire. So whenever you see smoke, it's in the yagashala, the fire is under that smoke. So smoke covers the fire. So they all reside in the same adhikarna, same base of activities there. And this we obtain through our pratyaksha jnana. So with our eyes, we have seen that in the past. Now we establish a relationship between the smoke and the fire. And that jnana is called as the vyaptihi. So in the vyapti state, what we say is the smoke always pervades the fire. That's the vyapti jnana. That's the relationship that we established called as a vyapti. That's called as an invariable relationship. Now we have to understand what is the cause of the smoke. The fundamental cause of the smoke is Agni. So that is called as the hetu. Agni is the hetu here. It's called as a hetu. And we have a confirmatory cognition saying that, so we see a mountain. The mountain is covered by smoke, and that smoke is happening because of the fire in the mountain. Because how we understand that in the yagashalas, the yajna, in the yajnas, we see the fire is always covered with the smoke. So we use the same as a confirmatory cognition to conclude that, to present that the mountain is covered with smoke. Finally, we infer that in the absence of a direct contact, so we are not seeing the fire in the mountain, right? We are actually the other side of the mountain. Now we are coming to prove that we are going to see there is a fire in the mountain. So with that, in the absence of a direct contact, a knowledge of fire has been generated through the process of inference. So this is the 5 steps. These are the steps that go into how we can understand and how we explain the inference to others. So the same thing. Basically, the inference steps are seeing the smoke in the mountain, recollecting the invariable relationship, understanding the relationship of smoke in the mountain, and concluding that fire is in the mountain. Okay. So, yatra dhumah tatra agnihi iti sahacharya niyamah vyaptihi. Now we should see what is vyapti. This is the word that is being introduced, was introduced in the last slide. So, yatra dhumah tatra agnihi iti sahacharya niyamah vyaptihi. Vyapyasya parvadadi vrittitvam pakshadharmata. So all these shlokas are explained with the same concept of the parvado vanniman. So basically the mountain and the fire is what being explained, used here as example. Then here what we see is yatra dhumaha tatra agnihi iti sahacharya niyamah. So the smoke, whenever we see smoke, there is always fire. So that is the niyama. That is the sahacharya niyama. Sahacharya niyama means it is always going towards sahacharati. One is going, the other is always there. So whenever the smoke is there, the fire is always there. That is the sahacharya niyama. And this has a relationship, and that relationship is called as a vyapti. Vyaptihi. So there is no direct English word for vyaptihi. We just say it's a invariable relationship. Is probably a better word to say that. Exact translation of English word of vyaptihi is not available. So the vyapyasya parvadadi vrittitvam. So whatever that is being in the vyapti, that vyapti is located in the location called a mountain, and that mountain has the property called paksha. That is called as a paksha dharmata. So that is has the paksha. The mountain is called the paksha. So vyaptihi is the relationship between the smoke and the fire. And wherever this fire is happening, wherever the fire and smoke are happening in co-located in a location, and that location is called as the paksha. So now let's see what are the 2 types of anumana. So there are 2 types of anumanas that are described in the Shastra. One is called as a swartha anumana, and another is called as parartha anumana. The swartha anumana is swa artha, so it's for myself. This anumana works only for me. So whatever I want to understand and whatever I infer, it is used for my improvement, my knowledge, and my understanding. So if I see my boss's face and I understand that he is angry, then it's useful for me only. So it is nothing to do with others or anybody else, and I have to behave accordingly. So if I infer, based on that inference, I can take it that way. Now, if I see my boss's face and says he's angry, and then I tell my friend that, be careful with that guy because he can be angry, then that is a parartha anumana, because the parartha anumana is something that you're trying to convince others based on that. So this is the most important thing. The parartha anumana is basically the most important thing, because that is where this is in debates and everything. You're going to convince others. In the swartha anumana phase, we just convince ourselves. We basically convince ourselves for our own good. The parartha anumana is where you come up with good arguments and use panchavaya vakyam. Use 5 different types of sentences to confirm that anumana. So they call pratigya, hetu, udaharana, upanayana, nigama. There are 5 different sentence stages to confirm with others, that you convince others that this is how my anumanam is correct. So let us see what the swartha anumana. We'll start with it. It's a very simple anumana here. Tatra swartha anumanam iti hetuhu. Tatahi swayameva bhuyo darshanena yatra dhumah tatra agnihi iti mahanasadau vyaptim grihitva parvata samipam gatah tadgate cha agnau sandihanaha parvate dhumam pashyan vyaptim smarati yatra yatra dhumah tatra tatra agnihi iti tadanantaram vannivyapya dhumavan ayam parvatah iti jnanam utpadyate ayameva linga paramarsha ityuchyate tasmat parvato vanniman iti jnanam anumiti utpadyate tadetat swartha anumanam. So this is probably a long sentence, but I think I'll try to let's go line by line on this. Tatra swartham swa anumiti hetuhu. This basically the anumiti is for ourselves, for one's own self. So his own understanding, this swartha anumana works for your own self. Tatahi swayameva bhuyo darshanena. So in how does he understand? Through one's own observation on activities like where there is smoke, there is fire, as in a kitchen. Mahanasaha is a kitchen. So Mahanasadau, like kitchen, I mean, now again, let me qualify here. The kitchen we talk about is the kitchen where they used to cook with firewood in the past, not the gas stove kitchens, definitely not the new electrical stoves that are being pushed out. These are all, we have to forget about it for some time. Most of us have seen how they cook payasam and all those things in firewood stoves in the past. So that's kind of a place where the firewood is there, which burns, and the fire is there, and that causes smoke. That's very important to understand there. Yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra agnihi iti mahanasadau vyaptim grihitva. So that relationship of the fire and the smoke, the invariable relationship between the fire and the smoke is taken from the kitchen. The kitchen, where you see the kitchen has this fire and smoke, and then that particular vyapti, we take it up, and then we go near the parvata. Then we go to the parvatam, the mountain, and parvata samipam gataha tadgate chagnau sandihanaha. So now you see that parvata, that mountain, now the mountain is covered with smoke. Like that sandihana parvatam dhumam pashyan vyaptim smarati. Now come back and recollect that vyapti, that relationship is there. Now you see the smoke there. Okay, yeah, I saw the smoke with the fire over there. The smoke is here. The fire is there. It's covered by the fire. Smarati yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra agnihi. Now I know a confirmatory cognition. I know that this is confirmed that the fire is there, the smoke is there only when the fire is there. Tadanantaram vyapti vyapya dhumavan ayam parvatah. Now I can say that this mountain is covered with fire. This mountain is has fire. Iti jnanam utpadyate. Ayameva linga paramarshaha iti uchyate. This is also called as linga paramarshaha, because we are going to use the word linga paramarshaha later. So he just introduces the word linga paramarshaha here. Tasmat parvato vanniman iti jnanam anumitihi utpadyate. So the inference of this mountain has fire has happened here. Tadetat swartha anumanam. So this is what we call it as a swartha anumanam. So basically, this is for one's own understanding, based on something that he saw before, and based on the vyapti that is there. There are the relationship of the things that are happening, the invariable relationship of things happening there. He's trying to find one from the other. So, and basically the sahacharya nirma, basically because one goes along with the other, because the smoke always goes along with the fire. So that is what we use it as a vyapti relationship there. And based on that, we conclude that the mountain has fire in it. So I think we saw this one earlier. So I'll just go to the next one here. So this same, we can apply these examples in several other places. So you're sitting in a bedroom and then you see a car coming outside, a noise of a car, then basically you hear a noise of a car. Based on that, you can say that somebody is coming to my house. That is one way of understanding. That's a swartha anuman. So you infer that somebody is coming, a guest is coming to your house. Or you sit in a room and the next room has a lot of sweets in it, and you have smell of good ghee flavored items, then you realize that the next room has sweets in it. So that is also used. So you infer all these things. Normally you infer all this through your own experiences and your own relationship of objects and how we can understand to it. It also infers upon how somebody behaves it. Or you look at outside. So you wake up in the morning, and you look outside, everywhere it is wet. Then you realize overnight it had rained, or in our case, it had snowed. Whatever conditions that you can say, those things happen here. Now let's look at the Parartha Anumana. Ettu Swayam Dhumadi Agnim Anumaya Paraprati Pratyartam Panchavaya Vakyam Priyujjate Parartha Anumanam. Yata Parvato Vanniman Dhumatvat Yo Dhumavan Savanniman Yatha Mahanasaha Tatha Chayam Tasma Tateti Anena Pratipaditat Tat Lingam Lingat Lingat Parahapi Agnim Pratipadyate. So now, here we are doing, now we are going to convince others, our Anumanam. So we know we can understand our Anumanam, we are good, but now how are you going to convince the next guy that my inference is correct of this thing? This is what we always do, right? We try to convince others. Now initially we judge and we make our own decisions, and sometimes then we go and convince others, try to do that. Then when you do the convincing, the Shastra says that you have to do a 5-step process of convincing. So that is the Panchavaya Vakyam. So there is a Nyaya Shastra talks about Panchavaya Vakyam whenever you are going in a debate and try to convince others. So what are the 5 sentences are used to convince? We say the mountain possesses fire because it possesses smoke. Because we know that the smoke, whenever there is a smoke, the fire is present, like in a kitchen. So we take that as an example. So therefore, the mountain possesses fire. So these are the 5 sentences we say. Now, these 5 sentences have been structured into different technical terms in the Shastras. We call it as Pratignya, Hetuhu, Udaharanam, Upanayah, and Nigamanam. So Pratignya, first is a proposition. The proposition is you're trying to tell the other guy there is a fire in the mountain. Okay, so the fire in the mountain, that is basically Pratignya is something like an introduction. You write an essay, you say introduction, then you say a conclusion, and then you give all the points together. So you have in the Shastras also, in the debates and all those things, you have to follow these 5-step processes to prove your point. So first you establish a theory. So Upastapanam or whatever it is, that is the Pratignya. You say the fire is in the mountain. Then you should say the Hetuhu. Okay, now you say there is a what is the cause of this fire in the mountain? Now you see there is smoke. This is pervaded by the smoke. That's called as a Hetuhu. So then you can use the Udaharana. So how do you know there's because how do you know the smoke can cause fire? Then you say the example is as how smoke is caused by fire. Sorry, how do you know the smoke is caused by the fire? As in the kitchen, whenever there is a smoke, there is a fire. So as with the stove, whenever the stove is lit, the smoke is there because the fire is there. That is the example that you give. And in the Upanaya state, basically is saying that based on that condition, based on that example, based on the Hetu, I am saying this is going to be established. And the conclusion step, we come and say, therefore, the mountain possesses fire. So that's how we conclude. That's how we convince the other person saying that the mountain has fire in it. So this is the 5 important steps that are said for the Parartha Anumanam. And this is a very important thing that needs to be used, applied during discussions. So few other examples that are used for this Swartha Parartha Anumanam, basically saying he's a fool, he's a great guy, all those kind of judgmental statements. Or you look at the tree has a lot of flowers in it, then you can say in 2 weeks you're going to get fruits out of this. Or something like he's going to be late to work because he's doing these things. Or you can say it will rain shortly, or it says like before it has snowed before, or it has snowed last night, or it's going to be wet. All kind of inferential things that we use naturally through our instincts that we call ourselves. But I think all these things internally our Shastras have analyzed and said based on it, basically they've given a structure to it, and then they say all these things happens through these processes that is happening. Swartha Anumanam iti Parartha Anumityoho Linga Paramarshah eva Karanam. Tasmat Linga Paramarshah Anumanam. So the confirmatory cognition is the instrument of creating this inferential cognition. The Paralinga Paramarshah is the reason for it. When you say the mountain is covered by smoke, is a confirmatory cognition, because that is what we are seeing. We see that from our thing, and now we are trying to. The mountain is covered by smoke is what we see. We didn't see the fire there, right? That's what is happening. Now we have to use all these postulates that we talked about earlier, and then we come up with the inference, and that's where we see the phalam. The phalam is the anumitihi. The anumitihi is there is fire in the mountain. So at this point, I will stop here, and I think I'll play the Mangala Shloka. Hope you can see that, right? It's working?
We can see it. No,
Yeah, we can see it. Thank you. It's good. Thank you.
मंगलम गुरु श्री चंद्रमौलीश्वर के, शक्ति गणपति शारदांबिके शंकराचार्यर के, शक्ति गणपति महागणपति शारदांबिके के, काल भैरवर के, काली दुर्गै के, वीर धीर शूर हनुम मारुति चरणतिके, मल्लिकार्जुनर के, செல்வ ஜனார்தனர் கே, அம்பா பவானி கம்பத கணபதி சண்டி சாமுண்டி கே, ஸ்ரீ கிருஷ்ண பகவான் கே, ஸ்ரீ சக்கரவாசினி கே, சீதாராம லக்ஷ்மண சகித மாருதி சரணத்திற்கே, வித்யாரண்யர் கே, विद्याशंकर के, वागीश्वरी के, वज्रदेग गरुड़ आंजनेयर के, श्रीवल्ली देव सेना समेत सुब्रमण्यर के, तुंगभद्रै के, श्रृंगनिवासिनी के, श्रृंगेरी पुरिயில் நிலைத்திருக்கும் எங்கள் சாரதாம்பிகை के, सच्चिदानंद शिव अभिनव नृसिंह भारती के, श्री चंद्रशेखर भारती गुरु सार्वभौमर के, श्री चंद्रशेखर भारती गुरु विद्यातीर्थर के, श्री चंद्रशेखर भारती गुरु भारती तीर्थर के, श्री चंद्रशेखर भारती गुरु विदुशेखर भारती के।